This PAX preview is brought to you by Netflix.
All right, this is day 3 of PAX, our final day. Tears rolling down cheeks. That doesn't mean that we've seen everything. So let's see. I'm going to start with you, Max. What stood out to you?
Well, jeepers. I saw some things yesterday afternoon. I went to talk to a bunch of cosplayers. I asked everybody on the escalator if they played they want an Xbox or a PS4, and did that whole thing. Just this morning, I checked out Scribblenauts Unmasked or whatever, the DC Universe one, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's Scribblenauts, but with licensed characters and familiar superheroes. And I think it's it seems like Scribblenauts could be going down the path that the Lego games did, like having different licensed properties, which I'm totally okay with. Of course, it's also got a whole lot of customization, so you can get very silly with it. I took a Deathstroke, and being a Marvel kid, I changed his colors, made him Deadpool, gave him a very large machine gun and a chimichanga, and then put him in the Batcave. So I had Deadpool running around and shooting Batman and eating a chimichanga at the same time, which is, it's kind of cool that there's a video game where you can do that. So
yes.
What I think is I guess almost disappointing is I asked them if there's any plans of Scribblenauts coming to Vita, because it seems like a no-brainer. Currently no plans. They're just focusing on 3DS and Wii U and PC. So I don't know. That's
yeah. I mean, it would look good on the Vita. But the one key thing about that game is every single, not just every character, every iteration of every character is available in the game.
You type in Batman, and there's like 37 different Batmen. They've got like Gotham by Gaslight, they got Red Mist, they got all this crazy fan service stuff, and everything's kind of organized almost like Wikipedia. So if you pull up the article for X character, whatever, and you click on the name that's in there, it redirects to another thing, and it's cool that that DC is open enough about that. I think it's refreshing to see a very large, very old company with a lot of valued properties being like, okay, sure. Apparently if you give Batman a gun, if you try to give Batman a gun, he'll just throw it on the ground, which is like, there's some things they're like, Batman doesn't do guns. That's not okay, But I mean, it's cool that they're like, hey, you guys obviously wouldn't be wanting to do this if you didn't care about the characters. So like, and you see this with Injustice, Gods Among Us too. And I just, I hope that Marvel does the same thing,
Yeah. I have a feeling Disney Scribblenauts, not going to happen. Tara, what stood out to you?
I saw Wolf Among Us, which is the new game from Telltale. This is based on the Fables comic series. Structurally and visually, I guess, it looks a lot like The Walking Dead. It's going to be episodic the same way that was. But I think because it's not set in a post-apocalyptic scenario, it's a lot more appealing to me, like the art style. There's a lot of color. It seems like there's a little bit more detail in the environments. What surprised me is that they threw us into what I think was pretty much the beginning of the game. Like, we saw the credits, like pop up and stuff. And there was a lot more quick time events and a lot more combat than there was in The Walking Dead, like even just in the first 10 minutes of the game. And they're sort of similar to how they were in The Walking Dead, but they're also a little bit more complicated. For instance, I had to punch a guy, and instead of just pressing RT when a prompt appears, I have to move the analog stick so that a circle lines up with the RT, and then I press RT. So it adds a little bit of tension, but at the same time, it's also the least interesting part of The Walking Dead. So I feel like there's maybe a little bit of a disconnect there that maybe won't appeal to the people who are in The Walking Dead. But I mean, the story writing is still great. The voice acting is phenomenal. The characters are so interesting. I mean, the series, you've read the series, right?
So I mean, for people who aren't familiar, Fables is what if all the famous fairy tale characters were actually real people and they lived in New York City secretly? So kind of Men in Black, but instead of aliens, it's all fairy tale stuff. This one is actually a prequel set 15 years before the first story arc of the comic, right? So it's 80s. Does it have an 80s vibe? That's what I want to know.
Actually, I didn't really get that when I was playing it. It has a very New York vibe because it's set in New York. But like I said, most of our gameplay took place inside an apartment, so it's hard to sort of tell. But there was a prostitute.
Now, with the quick time events, what you were just describing, it's not like there's a failure state. So what happens if they're adding this new level of, I guess, challenge to the event? What happens at a point of failure, or are you too good at them?
Oh, well, no, I'm definitely not too good at them. Because there were a couple moments, it was sort of a big fight that I was having with a guy, and there were times when I would miss it because, it was my first time playing the game, and things pop up and you're not used to them. But sometimes the guy will get punches in on you if you miss the quick time event. I couldn't tell what effect that really had on the story of the game because I was still able to defeat the guy. in the end, but I should have gone back and played it a second time and just sucked hard at it.
No, I've always wondered about this, because there's even moments in The Walking Dead, like if I completely screwed up that very easy thing, it's not like it's going to end on you.
Yeah, the particular part that we played, there was sort of a long combat sequence, so I think there were many opportunities to sort of redeem yourself a little bit. But like structurally, like I said, it's very similar to The Walking Dead. Every time you answer a question a certain way, text will pop up in the top left corner saying like, he'll remember that.
I love that part because I start to feel really, really guilty.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad life doesn't offer that, because my level of neurosis would just amplify to I'd be non-functional.
Yeah. It's nice actually having that sort of feedback and knowing that what you're doing is actually making a difference in the game.
How about you?
So I saw a really, really interesting, very, very indie game, like one dude and an artist who's apparently in Istanbul right now, traveling the world, called Mushroom 11. It's a platformer, but it's not a platformer, because what you control is this kind of amorphous blob that's ostensibly a fungus, and you can take parts away and it adds on to other sections. So when you're traveling through, say, a cavern, it kind of molds itself and shapes that, and then you manipulate the gravity of it to maybe fall on a particular object that's going to take you up. But you can also build it so it, you can achieve height with it. The puzzles it opens up are really, really interesting. It's a very challenging game, but once about 3-4 minutes in, it suddenly clicked. That's something that I was trying to play from a very cautious point of view. I was like, no, you actually kind of just hold your breath and just see if this is going to work. And it got really, really exciting. And I think just the challenge he has on the design, to have something that you can, obviously, it alters its shape so readily and so quickly. And, the puzzles and having to build the level so it becomes, possible for the player to get through it. It's very, very interesting. It probably needs to get a little bit easier, but it's a fascinating game. It really stood out. And it's one dude who seems...
Why is it called Mushroom 11?
Well, it's supposed to be a mushroom. The 11 part, I don't know.
Okay.
So I don't know if there were like 10 others that preceded it that failed. But there's a lot of interesting gameplay that's being experimented with there.
Yeah.
So that is it for us doing our wrap-ups from here at PAX. There's still a lot of content that's going up on the site, not the least of which will be our incredible panel, the Rev 3 Games panel of Adventure and Wonder. Who knows what could happen there? Because it's got adventure and wonder.
Hey, are you liking our PAX coverage and you would like to support Rev 3 Games? Yes, you do. Then why not sign up for Netflix? With Netflix, you can stream TV episodes and movies directly to your home, saving you time, money, and hassle. It's also the only place to watch exclusive shows like House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. Best of all, you can get a free trial membership and support Rev 3 Games by signing up at netflix.com/Rev3Games.